I'm going to introduce my co-facilitators for this. I'm Doug Jones, and as I said, I was the chair of the committee that put the task force that put this together. I serve on the board as the secretary treasurer, and I am the GA booth coordinator. Oops, now I'm the GA virtual events coordinator. So things change. And as I made the request before, if you could please enter your name and your email and phone number or anything else you'd like to share in the chat box at some time that's convenient. So helping me out today is Lincoln. Lincoln, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lincoln Statler. I'm coming to you from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am a graduate of Starr King School for the Ministry. If you don't know already, I got a Master's of Arts in Social Change, where I focused on spiritual care, and I completed 4 units at the San Francisco Night Ministry. I have a congregational endorsement, but I don't have a national endorsement, so that is part of the process that is missing from my own ministry portfolio. And this process, this task of UUSCM has kind of been a baby, something of mine that I've helped, and especially Doug has helped put into process this last 8 years. So I'm really glad that we're so close to having it finished and to getting it up and ready so we can get people out in the streets and doing ministry. And I thank you so much. And I think I'm gonna go with Nikki. Nikki, would you be willing to share who you are and what your ministry is?
Yeah, my name is Nikki Hunt, and I always like to say I'm in Tucson, Arizona, because that's a big time zone that we're looking at here. And I'm in the Pacific time zone, so the earliest except for Hawaii. I am the membership director for UUSCM. This is, I think, it's going into my 3rd year of doing that. And my community ministry is working with nonprofits. So right now I'm the director of development at Southern Arizona Legal Aid. And most of my work has been with nonprofits, and I wanted to bring ministerial tools and lens to nonprofit work. So that's why I went to seminary. And I'm going to call on Tara.
Hey there, I'm Reverend Tara Collier-Young. I also went to Starr King School for the Ministry, and I met Lincoln there all years ago. It's good to see you again, Lincoln. And I am affiliated with the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Santa Cruz County as a community minister. And I created my own ministry that I named 5 Seeds Ministry. I put my info on the chat, so if you want to check out what I'm up to, you're welcome to. And so are we tapping people for checking in?
Yes, let's get Chris, since she's one of the other facilitators.
You know, I'm going to let you do that because I'm cutting out, so I'm going to mute myself.
Hi. I'm Chris Jones-Leavy, and I am from Westerville, Ohio. It's a suburb of Columbus, so in the center of the state. I am just going off the UUSCM board, and I am also retired. I retired as a hospice chaplain. I am ordained and fellowshipped, and so my eyes on this process were kind of from the connecting with the board chaplaincy certification process, having been through that myself a few years ago. So, glad to see so many people here, and I will have to move my screen so I can see who to call on. Bonnie, how about if you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Chris, and welcome everyone. I am the co-president with Ben Gable of UUSCM. I am calling in from Oregon, and I have my community ministry I was a traditional parish minister for many years, both in the United Church of Christ and Unitarian Universalist churches. And I am now a community minister with an untraditional home church counseling center, and we are now doing farming and offering as our ministry as a retreat center. So I am delighted to be with everyone. I want to give a special thanks to Chris and Lincoln and Doug and everyone who's worked on this lay chaplain endorsement. It's been a very long, involved process, and I'm very excited about it. And I thank you for all of your hard work. And I'd like to call on Ben.
Thank you, Bonnie. I'm Ben Gable. I currently serve along with the Reverend Bonnie Tirewater as the co-president. I'm a lay community minister. I do social justice work in the Metro Detroit area, and also I serve in a larger denomination as a member of the Journey Toward Homeless Transformation Committee, and also this is a ministry in itself as the co-president of UUSCM Community Ministries. And I just welcome you into this space and looking forward to this rich conversation. And I invite Holly.
Thank you, Ben. I'm Holly Flutie Dempsey. I'm currently in Bethany, Delaware, but I'm also in Bethesda, Maryland. I just, let's see, what's the just that I wanted to say? I retired from the Foreign Service 5 years ago, and a year later found myself at Meadville, which was quite a surprise, frankly, after I retired. And I have a degree from the Master of Arts in Leadership Studies program with a lay ministry concentration. So I am particularly interested, less from a personal perspective, but having just written a thesis on lay ministry going back to 1648 in the platform, I have some definite ideas about it's the time to rise up now, and we need an array of wonderful leaders who aren't necessarily professional clergy. And I think there's a role for avowed members of congregations similar to deacons in other faith traditions. So I'm looking at this from more a national perspective as a particularly good opportunity for people to go forward. Thank you. And Mary Ann.
Thanks, Holly. Holly and I were classmates at Meadville, and I just graduated in May with a Master of Divinity. Yay. I went into seminary totally intending that I would be a parish minister, and I came out the other side with not that clarity. And so I'm doing a second unit of CPE, so at a continuing care facility, and I'm thinking that might be a really great fit for me, as far as because it's a community function there and relationship building and chaplaincy. So that's the direction. But so I'm looking at community ministry for sure. So let's see. I will make this a Meadville trifecta and call on Laura.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Hi, Holly. Good to see you. So, I'm Laura Powell-Haney. Like Mary Ann, I just graduated with my MDiv from Meadville Lombard Theological School a month or so ago. So it's still shiny new. That's great. I also have completed 4 units of CPE. That first unit that was required over the summer was not enough and made it very clear to me that that was my path forward. I wouldn't recommend doing the MDiv and the 4 units of CPE at the same time, but there, it's done. I will seek board certification through, I did the CPSP program. I'm going to do that, but not until after I see the Ministerial Fellowship Committee in October, because I want to have that be one of my certifications toward full fellowship. So I would like to do the kind of bivocational ministry that includes 2 different types of ministry, not ministry and then something completely different. I'd love to do something affiliated with a congregation, but also with chaplaincy. And I have the thought in the back of my head that community chaplaincy might be something that I'd like to try or set up, or something, especially something that is not evangelical in nature. I've seen a couple of websites that have corporate chaplains who are specifically have an agenda beyond actually helping people. So, or helping people in a certain way. So I'm thinking about that too. I'm also a part of a pagan group that just did 3 sessions on pastoral care, specifically around for pagans. And I would love to bring this lay chaplaincy program to their attention as well, because they are an official CUPS chapter. So thank you. And I'm not sure who all has gone. So is there anybody who hasn't gone that I should call on?
Yeah, I think Stacy and Sarah have not gone.
Okay. So Stacy.
Hi, I'm Stacy Smith-Pancratz. I'm in the Oak Cliff neighborhood of Dallas, Texas. I serve on the board and as worship leader and membership chair for a very small lay-led congregation that is economically disadvantaged, not upwardly mobile, and multiracial and multi-faith. So we have lots of people, and we have a very large population. So I guess for me, I'm interested in ways to see my church community and the other churches that sort of look like us in the area served. We have a hard time getting ministers down here. It's too hot and we don't pay enough. And then the other thing is that I have personally found as an economically disadvantaged, non-upwardly mobile, overly educated person myself, I have found seminary to be cost prohibitive, but have a call. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can scratch that itch in a way that doesn't send me to debtor's prison. And so, Sarah, I think you're the next person.
Yeah, Stacy, I'm in Farmers Branch. So that's so wild. Farmers Branch is a suburb of Dallas. So we're, co-cityists.
What's your home church?
It's Horizon.
Oh, that's a great, beautiful building. And your minister is fabulous.
She's a really good minister. And in fact, it's so interesting because when I told her I was interested in chaplaincy, she was like, well, you need to join the pastoral care team. And so she's been real supportive and helpful.
Right.
So I am retiring from public accounting, and I want to go into chaplaincy, specifically, so far as I know right now, end of life work. That's my interest. I am attending, I'm starting Meadville Lombard in September, and I'm taking in July the Chaplaincy Institute, which does the dual degree with Star King, has some open courses. And so the July open courses are healthcare chaplaincy and death and dying. And so I'm taking those in July. And so I'm very interested in, yes, I'm kind of committed to the seminary path now, but I'm still interested in the alternative pathway to affiliation. So I'll shut up now.
Thank you all. Did we happen to miss anybody? Did anybody not? Sarah, would you please introduce yourself? The other Sarah, we have 2.
Hi y'all, I'm Sarah Jo. I'm currently in New Orleans, Louisiana. 2 years ago, I did a year at ILIF in the MDiv program and have taken time because of finances I've done work in long-term care, so my heart is there as well. And I feel called to hospice and palliative care. And I've been following y'all for several years now. And then I saw Lincoln post about this endorsement coming, and I was really excited to see that you guys would be talking about this here at GA. So thank you for being here and doing this for us all.
Well, thank you. Oh, let's see if I can be technology not challenged at the moment. Okay, so I think I can share this. All right, so again, thank you all for coming, and we're going to just present kind of the high level of what we're trying to accomplish here. And the first question is, what are we doing? So we have created a second option for getting a Unitarian Universalist denominational endorsement for people seeking board certification as a chaplain. This process is alongside the current process. If you go the MFC path, you don't need this path. This is for people who don't do the MFC path. Next. No, my builds are not working, but that's okay. Actually, I'm going to do this and see if that gets us to where, nope, excuse me. I'm going to try this again because I don't like the way it's working. So is that sharing with y'all or not? Doesn't appear to be. Can you all see that now?
Yes.
Okay. So the first question was, why are we doing this? And we have a lot of good reasons. The first is that over 25% of our membership are chaplains. And secondly, the UUA asked us to do it. They had been frustrated by having the single path, and when someone like Sarah Lambert would get the call from somebody who had all the credentials except they weren't fellowshipped, having to say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You have to find a different way. And then the second issue was that the BCCI has a very robust process, and their ask of a denominational endorsement is a very narrow ask compared to all the things that you need to do to become a chaplain. So by limiting our role, we evaluated whether or not we thought we could build the resources necessary to do it. And we came to the conclusion that we had a pretty good shot at it and that we'd like to try. And there's also just the stories that we hear from people who have had the painful experience of not being able to follow their passion and become chaplains because they're Unitarian Universalist and don't fit the mold. So those were our motivations. So the next question was, how did we go about creating this process? And so we formed a task force, you know, like good UUs, you make a committee, you make a task force. So we made a task force and we assessed several things. The first was, is there a need? And that's one of the things I'm asking of you today, is to spread the word to the other people you know in this community. We need to get a good feel. Do we need to do 5 twice a year? Do we need to do 1 twice a year? Do we need 10 twice a year? How many people really will take advantage of this? And that will help us come up with an appropriate scaling. Next, again, when we first started, we actually called this a credentialing project, but we soon realized that we're not actually providing the credential. That's the BCCI's responsibility. And then next was, can we create a process that respects shared Unitarian Universalist values and polity? And we said yes. And we also want to make sure we could avoid perpetuating systemic oppression, including that element to race, ethnicity, class, ability, theology, gender expression, and/or sexual orientation. And then the final question was, do we have the resources? And we think we do. We've had a lot of people say they want to help. The UUA wants to help. I think we can put the resources together. And then finally, draft a process. And there's a gentleman named David Doubledam who actually put in a lot of effort. He was the primary author of the documentation. He ended up completing the MFC process and became certified that way. And we also then needed to seek UUSCM board approval, which of course we've received. So what is the process? Well, before you apply, we want to make sure you're informed as to what you're getting yourself into. We would like to have you talk with a mentor, and discern whether or not this is the right path for you. We understand that sometimes paths change, but when you start, we would like you to think this is the right one for you. And then you have to complete the requirements. As I said, there's a document on our website that goes through that in quite a bit of detail. Then you actually apply. And so we do have specific forms. Going back to the complete requirements, we did make the commitment to work towards using equivalency. If you have done something that can fit the situation, we want to hear that. But we do want to provide consistency and fairness in the evaluation process. So we don't want to deviate from the process. We might have alternate means of fulfillment, but the process should stay consistent. Then you get to attend an endorsement review process. We plan to hand those biannually in February and September via teleconference. Then you're going to get your results. You're going to get 1, 2, 3, or 4. You're granted. You're provisionally granted. You're currently completing a CPE and you need to complete it successfully. You could be delayed, that we think that you need more formation time, or you can be denied. You also need to maintain endorsement by submitting annual reports that confirm your chaplaincy continues to meet the denominational endorsement requirements. And then every 5 years, you have to re-up with the BCCI and at the same time re-up with us with a more extensive process. So I have said an awful lot, so I can take a rest. Are there any questions through this point?
Are you going to go over the, let's see, the requirements, complete the requirements?
Yes, I'm going to, well, I'm not going to go over that in any great detail because that's really better detailed on the website.
Okay.
I can go over that really quickly if you'd like, though.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we hold that? And I think there's a place that'll fit, but we will definitely talk about those requirements. Any other questions?
Is the first one this coming September, or is it going to be in February?
It's going to be February. We're hoping by this September to get applications.
Okay.
All right, next. I was talking about the stakeholders. And when you look at this, there are a lot of people involved. Of course, there's the applicant. There's the UUSCM board taking responsibility for the process. There's our membership. Again, over 25% of our members are chaplains. And we also think that this is a great way of us being of service to our denomination and in a more high visible way. And then we're going to have our lay chaplain denominational endorsement panel. Again, those are the people who are actually going to do the work along with staff. As I said, staff, both UUA and UUSM staff are going to be involved. And then we envision having mentors to help somebody who's going down this path, team up with somebody who's been down the road and can help the applicant or the pre-applicant to stay on track. The UUA obviously is a very large stakeholder in this, as well as the BCCI, who is an affiliate of the Association of Professional Chaplains. And then there's all those institutions out there that need board certified chaplains to fulfill their requirements. And I think in general, the Unitarian Universalism is a stakeholder in this. This is another example of how we can get more people in the world living our faith. So, to your question, when is the process available? Our goal is to receive applications starting October 2020 and to interview in February of 2021. So right now, we need to develop a list of potential applicants, including when they estimate wanting to apply. And now let's talk about the endorsement panel. We currently plan for it to be 7 individuals, all of them UU, at least 3 BCCI board certified, all a member of UUSCM, and representing as diverse perspectives as we can. This is a volunteer position, though there's been some conversation about having a stipend, since there is going to be a lot of reading involved. But we're still weighing the pros and cons of that. Part of that depends upon funding. And again, we're going to meet biannually. And we need members that are knowledgeable in both the UUSCM process and of the BCCI process. Next steps. So on our website at /endorsement, you can find some documentation. The first is going to be the application process for you to read, a mere 55 pages. There isn't yet, but there will soon be a place for you to register as a potential applicant with those issues of when do you think you want to apply, what type of chaplaincy do you want to pursue, and any other characteristics that you want to share. And then we want people to read the description of the endorsement panel duties. And again, that's 1 page. And then we need you to let us know if you might volunteer to be a lay chaplain on the endorsement panel. I'm sorry, if you are going to be on the endorsement panel. And also we're going to have a feedback forum on the website so you can just generally ask questions and make comments. So that brings us to thank you and questions. So with that, I'm going to turn off my share so that we can see each other better. But I can always bring it back if there's a question you'd like to refer back to. Oh, and the slides will also be on our website. And the recording. So who would like to go first? Stacy, you look like you've got a hand up.
I do. So tell me about assistance in finding a mentor. So one of the questions you said was, what kind of chaplaincy do you think would you think you might be interested in. I think a mentor would help suss that out, I think. Would you guys be providing help with that?
Chris, do you want to take that one?
Lincoln, go ahead.
Sure.
You had your hand up.
Oh, I didn't
sorry,
see it.
I didn't mean to. Yes, I think a chaplain would be able to help you understand that, but it would also be, by the time you're applying for UUSCM denominational endorsement, I think a lot of the discernment part of your ministerial formation, whether lay or ordained, would have already have come to fruition. Now, does that mean you can't debate, oh, should I be a hospice? Should I take this job in the hospital or the hospice? That can happen. But having a much clearer sense of your call should be something that would have already been approached by now, because that'll be throughout your BCCI packet, for instance. There's plenty of room to change, to be like, you know, I have done everything to be a hospice chaplain, and now I'm being called to work in a battered woman shelter. I don't think anyone would ever argue with that kind of change, but the discernment process would have already have had to have happened by the time you got to this process.
Right. And that is great information. And so perhaps I should clarify and take the fluff out of my question. And I think my question is, well, if you don't know any chaplains, are you guys in a position to help identify one who could be a mentor to help whatever? If it's
totally, absolutely. Okay. I think if you're looking for if you're in the discernment phase, absolutely. Because discernment is the beginning of ministry. You know, when you decide to put your own mind and your own body and your own theology to the world.
I think we should be maybe clear about the difference between a mentor for this time, for where you are, and trying to kind of discern which path you need to take, and the mentor that the process requires, because the process requires that the mentor be somebody who's board certified. And I don't think you'd have to have someone board certified to help you discern where you're going with your gifts and graces.
That's good.
Yes,
thank you.
There's a BCCI requirement for mentorship.
Well, the BCCI doesn't require a mentorship. They just strongly encourage it.
Okay.
Just because at this point in the process, when you get a BCCI mentor, it's not about what your call is. It's about putting that call on paper, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just want to add that I think just like with the ordained ministers, they have a ministerial formation network that they created in the last few years. And so it may make sense for UUSCM to also look at how do we do a chaplaincy intake mentoring kind of network kind of programming. So I do like the idea that you're bringing up, Stacy, of how do we create a chaplaincy network of folks who are in the discernment process, that you'll be working with senior colleagues who've gone through this process, chaplaincy process. So I just want to name that. I hear what you're saying, Stacy, and I think that's a good idea.
Stacy, are you a member of the UU Seminarian Salon on Facebook?
Oh, Facebook.
Yeah, I know, it's a terrible thing. It's like a demon.
I know, and I keep getting sucked back in with these sorts of things. So I can, if at your suggestion, I can look into that.
Just as a tool of discernment only.
Okay.
Because the Seminarian Salon is full of people who have got accepted but haven't started seminary, who are in their first, second, third, 20th year, who have completed seminary and are in CPE. It's just a great place to talk about discernment.
Sure.
With other people that are discerning. And in a way that's completely like, sometimes if you discern with a professional, if you raise someone's eyebrow, it might make you feel a certain way, right?
Right.
But in the Seminarian Salon, raising eyebrows is kind of the purpose.
And I should be, again, completely clear and transparent that in a perfect world, seminary would be my first choice, but it is cost prohibitive. I got to keep the lights on. I got to keep working. Like I don't.
Sure.
So it is what it is, right? So.
Sure. So things like you can be, but you can still be doing things like Renaissance modules online.
Yes.
That's included in the endorsement. I forgot to mention that, yeah.
You can be doing things like CPE. You can take CPE without going to seminary.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you can do a lot of things while working towards the goal, and maybe not. Maybe you decide that, you know, board certified chaplaincy isn't your goal, but with some REN models and some CPE, maybe a women's shelter says you'd be a great candidate to lead a spirituality circle, and you're like, perfect. That's what I want to do.
Right.
So it's sometimes it's just about finding, you know, get in where you fit in kind of thing.
Sure. Thank you.
I just want to note, I think it was Kathleen McGregor in the chat box. Just want to see if we get to that question. Is this just a mirror of the MFC process or farming out chaplain ordination to UUSCM?
And the answer is yes and no. It is only a UU endorsement portion. So the MFC does a whole lot more than endorse your being a UU. They do, you know, all the evaluation of your education, your experience, and your fitness for the position. In this case, the BCCI is doing most of that, and all we're doing is the UU endorsement piece of that. So the MFC process includes this kind of indirectly, okay? I mean, if you have become fellowshipped, you are undoubtedly a Unitarian Universalist. You have definitely proved that, and no one needs to ask the question. It's just a fact. Is that correct? Do my co-presenters think the same thing?
More or less, that's pretty correct, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe in other words, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in here. In other words, the way the MSc process is right now is that it's still centered on parish ministry centered training. And so so many people who are called into UU chaplaincy don't want to do parish centered MSc process. So what this does is allows for you to receive ecclesiastical endorsement from the UUA, so you can serve as a chaplain in a chaplain setting without having to go through the parish setting loophole, hoops that you have to jump through. So in a way, this is not necessarily, this is a way to get, for folks who are called into chaplaincy to get that ecclesiastical endorsement from the UUA. And so the certification part then would be from the BCCI, but the ecclesiastical endorsement would be coming through the UUSCM.
And part of the discernment that a lot of people need to go through is not just, am I called to ministry, but is it important for me to be in fellowship with the UUA? Some people it is, for some people it isn't, for some people it's cost prohibitive or time prohibitive, but that's part of the discernment about which path do I want to go down? Do I want to go down the MFC path, or do I want to go this way towards an endorsement by the UUSCM? I think we also need to be clear that this process envisions that everybody who seeks endorsement from us will have a Master's of Divinity. That's one of the requirements that is in this process. So want to be very clear about that.
Chris,
to clarify, I think that's the BCCI has a variety of advanced degrees besides MDiv that are acceptable, but they're
sorry, yes.
equivalent.
Typically, typically it's a divinity degree of some sort, but you can get a variation. It just does require an advanced degree, I should say.
I think this requires 48 units as opposed to 72 of seminary education.
Sure,
So
yeah.
it's not quite a full MDiv, right?
You can become an associate certified chaplain through BCCI with a 48-unit master's in theology or ministry and 2 units of CPE.
Yeah, and if you want to be a full BCCI, not an associate, then you have to have the equivalent of an MDiv. You know,
totally.
Right, and also military.
If you get you can get variances or credit for different degrees, but I just don't want to lead anybody into thinking that you don't have to do that. Don't want anybody wasting.
Totally, totally. And that makes sense. I mean, we need to be clear that we are not, this process is not like an easy go around. What we're doing is we're just creating a vocational path for people to reach the goal. But that's still going to require a theological degree and plenty of CPE.
I think the other thing that we need to be sure that we mention is that membership in UUSCM, working in community ministry, does not necessarily require that kind of advanced degree. That this is just for people who want to go that advanced degree route. So we have, well, lots of members who are doing creative ministries or ministries in things that don't require a certification, and we see that as perfectly valid and very valuable to UU and to the communities that are being served. So we're trying to fill a specific need that we were asked to fill, but we don't want to see this process as suggesting that UUSCM wants to exclude other kinds of ministries than those who need certification.
Doug and the presenters, the other co-hosts, there are 2 questions. One is, are you providing endorsement for associate? And the second one is, can someone please go over the requirements?
Sure. Can I tackle both of those? The first question is yes to, are we providing endorsement for associates? Yes. If you can stand before the Board of Certified Chaplaincy, we want to help get you endorsed if you're qualified, enabled, and called. Yes. Because, I mean, that'll be my path. I have an MA, not an MDiv. I have a 57-unit degree and 4 units of CPE. I could take a couple more classes and do some equivalencies for an MDiv equivalent, but I don't have to. I can just jump in right now and get the process going. I mean, I'm already a chaplain, so. And then the requirements according to APC. Let's slow down a second. The requirements for APC, first off, start with undergraduate education, then graduate level education, either a 48-unit master's degree or a 72 plus or more MDiv degree. It then requires between 2 and 4 units of CPE. At least if you're doing BCC full certification, you need at least 3 of those units from ACPE. If you're doing ACC certification, you need at least 1 of those units from ACPE. So let's say you were doing chaplaincy and you did your first unit through CPSP, 1 unit would be fine, but not all of your units can come through CPSP if you're going to get that endorsement through BCCI. So that's a big change right there. And that's a big thing because some people aren't able to get ACP certifications and CPE units. So that is in itself a requirement. Let's see, degree CPE, you need at least 2,000 hours of post CPE work experience. that is documented and supervised by someone ahead of you, whether that's a director of nursing or a director of clinical services. You need someone who can attest to your skill within those 2,000 hours. And then on top of all of that, you need a packet which covers 29 competencies that are required by the Board of Certified Chaplaincy. And these are things like, what is your theology of pastoral care? What is your understanding of theological research? What is your understanding of the behavioral sciences, and what model of behavioral health do you work out of? So it's a very extensive process. So even if you were to do the 48 units, 2 units of CPE, get 2,000 hours of certification, that 29 units of written packets is going to be in a very extensive packet. It's going to almost look like a graduate thesis, and how you understand your ministry and how you can apply it to the world.
And we have the last requirement of endorsement by your faith community.
That's what I was coming to next.
Sorry, I jumped the gun, Lincoln.
Yeah,
That's
so,
okay.
so you're going to cover those requirements as well, right, Lincoln?
Yeah,
Okay.
which is a lot, right? Like even
It's
if
already
you
a
go
lot,
through,
right?
even if you go through ACC certification, that's still 6 years of post-high school education, plus 2 units of CPE, plus a graduate level thesis. So you're still looking at like 7 years of education and formation, even at the associate level. And then if you were to do MDiv level, that could be 9 to 10 years if you include the extra year, your internship year, and then a residency.
And your internship. Oh, right. Never mind.
Yeah. So by meeting just ACC requirements, we can help people get into the field of ministry and professional ministry, and we can cut 3 or 4 years off your time frame.
Right. If you
Because
also do the MUC process, how much does that add?
That's like 13 years because you have 3 renewals.
3 renewals plus
Although-
2 years in internship in a congregation, right? So you.
I did not have to do an internship in a congregation. The MFC accepted my residency.
Oh.
And it's possible, it's maybe not the wisest idea, but I did the MFC process and the BCCI process concurrently. It is doable, but the MFC process is 3 years. I mean, the fellowshipping process is 3 years. And so I did that at the same time I did the BCCI. So it's doable, but it is intensive.
So Sarah, to answer your question, ACC
So we're
is
coming to the last few minutes of our allotted time.
Okay, let me just answer the question really quick, Doug. ACC is Associate Certified Chaplaincy. So you, instead of having a 72-unit master's degree, you have a 48 plus. So a lot of times that can be like MAs in religion. Maybe you did your MA and you did your thesis on spiritual care. Maybe you did your MA in religious education, things like that.
Social work.
Yeah, there are even some social workers that move to chaplaincy because they complete a residency in CPE.
So the last thing I'd like to hear, and I'm not sure who wants to take this one, is in its summary form, what is the endorsement process from us look like? What are our requirements? And I'll start off by saying it's to cherry pick out of all that other stuff you've done, the stuff relative to your faith. Okay? But beyond that, it's understanding, it's showing that you have taken some courses in our history, that you understand, taken some courses in our polity, that you are in right relations with a congregation. Anybody else want to chime in?
I just want to make sure that Marianne had her, I believe you had your hand up, and also I apologize. We are guilty of acronyms. I call it the UU alphabet soup that we have. So someone who knows ACC can explain that, and also Marianne, I want to make sure that you get an opportunity to ask your question.
Yeah, I think this is a quick question. Lincoln, I thought you said that you need between 2 to 4 units of CPE. I always thought you needed 4 units of CPE. How do you only need 2?
Associate level.
Chaplaincy, associate level chaplaincy?
So yes, through the BCCI, they have 2 levels of chaplaincy. They have associate level chaplaincy and board certified chaplaincy. And associate level only requires 2 units,
Okay.
and hospitals recognize it because it is better to have a 2-unit professional than to have a 4-unit professional who isn't credentialed.
Perfect. Thank you. I didn't know that. Thanks.
Just so when you're looking at things, whether you're on the internet or you're checking it out with BCCI, the 4-year, the 72 hours and all of that is board certified chaplain, and the 48 plus is called an associate certified chaplain. So it is still a certificate. It's still a certified chaplaincy position.
And ACC stands for accredited.
No, associate.
Associate, right?
So as we wrap up, I'd like to remind people that would like to follow up with you. I would like to put you on our mailing list for 3 months. We'd like to be able to send you an email and say, what'd you think? How can we help? But to do that, we need your name and your email address and other information about you in the chat box here.
And I just wanted to say that we have a variety of open houses that are going to be happening. It's posted on our Facebook page. We send it out as an email. It's also, if you're on the app at GA, I've posted it there. I'll post it again. You can come to the open house and ask more questions about chaplain stuff. Hopefully there'll be somebody around who either can answer your questions or they'll get the answers for you. So that's another way to ask more questions since we have run out of time.
So one other thing is we changed when we were having our pub night. We originally were going to have it earlier today, but it's been moved to late tomorrow. It's at 9:45 Eastern time. It's quite late, but it's a pub night. Why not? And you just got to go to church the next morning. Also on our website, we will or have posted other time zones of the grid. So if you want one for Pacific, Mountain, or Central Time, so you don't have to do all the translation, we've done that for you. With that, do people want to do a one-word checkout? I'm going to say fantastic. Anybody else want to do a one word?
Gratitude.
Informative.
Progress.
Inclusive.
Generous. Encouraging.
Encouraging.
Gratitude.
Well,
Pressed.
till we see each other again, blessed be.